Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. She's a certified financial planner and financial wellness specialist who helps individuals, couples, and professionals move from financial distress to lasting confidence, other than Miss Jennifer Edwards.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Miss Jennifer, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Absolutely. I just wanted to let everybody know about financial wellness. It's kind of an emerging field. A lot of people aren't really familiar with the idea that so much of the things that are holding us back from being financially successful really don't have anything to do with just learning new things or gaining new skills, but exploring the deeper psychological reasons that drive our money decisions, as well as exploring the broader context of the world in which we live, our relational dynamics. Sometimes we've got trauma responses that are impacting our ability to be successful with money. So, in financial wellness, we're trying to take into account the entire picture and then use the correct solutions to tackle the problem that's really the underlying problem of why we're not being able to do what we need to do with our money.
Beyond literacy and discipline, that will be our topic for today, Miss Jennifer, and how culture and emotion shape money decisions. And thank you so much for sharing our knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. How does our family's money story, the often unspoken rules, anxieties, and behaviors around money we observe as children, create a financial blueprint that we unconsciously follow as adults?
Well, the very interesting fact is that our money stories, so the actual belief system that we use to guide our financial decisions, is pretty much in place between ages 7 and 10, before we've even had a whole lot of experience managing money. We've already imbibed a lot of the teachings and actually absorbed some of the emotions and the stress from our caregivers around money before we have the maturity or the ability to actually like digest what all of that means. So let's just use an example here. Let's say that you grew up in a home where there was a lot of financial stress, where there just didn't seem to be enough financial resources, where parents maybe were fighting about money either behind closed doors or even in front of the children. Even if you're not fighting in front of the children, they can sense that that's happening, that there's like this distress. And they might form a belief around money that says something like, um, money, you never have enough. You'll never have enough money. Money will always be a problem. And this is not a conscious belief. This is under the conscious layer. And so when you grow up, it might manifest itself in a couple of different ways of behaviors. I've seen this play out where maybe you've got a couple of different extremes. Maybe one person takes this belief system and they want so badly to be able to identify with the families that had a lot of monetary resources, that they don't want to identify as being poor or not having the things that they want in life. And so they become a spendthrift. They just go out and they rake up a lot of credit card debt and just want to keep telling themselves that I'm not that person. I'm not my mom, I'm not my dad. I'm different from what they were. I don't want to be identified that way. And then maybe you have the other extreme where somebody is so guarded around money that they just can't spend anything, that it's really difficult to feel secure while spending money, and they just either hoard cash or they just need to have all of their money saved up. Very difficult. They might live with their parents for a long, long time, or they might be in roommate situations and really kind of living a lifestyle that's below what their earning potential would generally allow just because they don't feel secure. So these can follow us into our adult lives and affect not just our money decisions, but lots of our other areas of our lives as well. But these are how they can play out in our money lives. And it's really important that we examine them. So if you go to my website and get it, or if you go somewhere online and do a money belief inventory, that can help you to identify what are the money scripts, what are the money stories that you're operating from, and then you can evaluate, hey, do I really subscribe to this belief anymore? Is there anything in my belief system that I want to discard? Or is there a new belief system that I want to uh, start to guide my financial decisions? So not being so automatic, but starting to bring some consciousness and some awareness to that process.
Miss Jennifer, what are some specific example of how cultural values that will directly conflict with modern financial advice?
Well, modern financial advice would say to, more is always better. That's one of the aspects of the dominant economic culture in the United States, which doesn't always lead to greater happiness or less stress or what I might call financial wellness. Because you can have financial wellness and have lower monetary resources, and you can certainly not be financially well and have a healthy relationship with money and have plenty of money. I've seen both extremes. So, one way that it can show up, that you can see that conflict, is especially in cultures where they might have a communal resource sharing value, meaning that kind of what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, and we all work together to make sure that everybody's needs are met. And that's not in alignment with the dominant economic culture in the United States, which isn't saying that that's a bad way to live or that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's not in alignment with what you're going to encounter in the dominant economic structure of the United States of America. So if you grew up in a culture where, maybe your aunt, their car broke down, and your dad called in sick to work, even though he wasn't really sick to work, to go work on his sister's car, you are going to grow up maybe having an idea that your family members, when they have financial needs, if especially if you have gotten to a point of maybe some more economic stability than other members of the family, you might be seen as another person's resource for financial aid. So it might look like, a family member comes to you saying, "Hey, I'm falling on tough times. Could you handle my phone bill for a while?" Or, "Hey, I'm out of work, or I'm down on my luck. I just need $1,000 to get me through a tough spot." And in certain cultures in the United States, that would be an acceptable ask. That would be something that in their culture they wouldn't think that that is out of line to do. But in the dominant economic culture, which is Western European based, kind of came up from Greece and then into Western Europe and then across the ocean to the United States, that would probably be seen as a little bit of out of line. Like you wouldn't expect people from the dominant culture to expect other people to take care of those needs. We're very independent oriented, not a whole lot of community or communal sharing of resources is expected. So that can cause internal conflict because you might be getting this message that says, hey, you know what you need to do to be successful is you need to save a certain percentage of your money for an emergency. And you might be thinking, okay, I'll save that amount of money for my emergencies. But then we're not really addressing, well, does that include extended family members' emergencies, or is that just my emergencies? Because if I'm going to take care of everybody's emergencies, I'm going to need either a much larger emergency fund, or I'm going to need to start setting down some boundaries that might create some disconnect between me and my extended family. So, that's just one example.
Great example, Ms. Jennifer. How do the very words our culture uses for money shape our emotional and moral relationship with it?
How do our what? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
How do the very words of our
The
culture use it?
words.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The words of our culture, the way that we're speaking about it. Yeah, for sure. So there's different concepts around ownership. There's different concepts around what you need to do to earn money. So just the phrase, let's say the phrase, money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, if you're telling that to your children or to the next generation, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, the implicit message is that in order to get money, you have to do something. It doesn't just fall from the sky. You have to do something. And this can make it very difficult when you get older. And I find this with
Mm.
retirees all the time, who their value system in their family and in their own minds as they were working was that in order to justify spending money, you have to be earning money. There's no such thing as like just living off of your assets. You have to work in order to feel okay about spending money. So when they get into retirement and they have assets that they're supposed to live off of and they're not supposed to have to go to work anymore, that can be really jarring. That can create a lot of cognitive dissonance. But wait, there's something wrong if I'm spending money and I'm not actually out there producing anything at this moment to generate any income. So just those kinds of words. Another phrase I would tell people to avoid is the phrase "we can't afford that." We can't afford that is a scarcity mindset phrase because usually we're just making choices. It's all about, what you want to prioritize. So maybe a better phrase would be, we're choosing not to spend our money on that right now.
Beyond budget, Ms. Jennifer, what are the powerful money rituals the cultures instill, and what is the lasting psychological impact?
Okay, around our money rituals, a lot of lasting impact there. Um, However, your family does holidays is a really good reflection of some of your money rituals. So if it's everybody buys elaborate gifts for every holiday, for graduations, for bat mitzvahs, for baptisms and confirmations, for quinceañeras, for birthdays, Christmas, holidays, any of those things. If the expectation is, if you saw a lot of material possessions being purchased around those times, that can have this lasting impact around, well, how does our family actually express love? And if you go into adulthood and you say, hey, you know what, I've got limited monetary resources, or maybe I've got some goals that I'm really trying to prioritize, and with our extended family, somebody's always got something going on, weddings and, births of babies and all these things. And it's really depleting my ability to save for my goals or to prioritize the things that I would like to spend my money on. That you might want to define love differently than the way you saw it expressed in your family growing up. And that's definitely swimming upstream. I mean, you're gonna be swimming against the tide. You're gonna be having to lay down some boundaries that say, "Hey, I might be giving you more of my time." Or instead of buying an expensive gift, I might sit and write a poem or paint a picture or go on YouTube and create a collage, photo slideshow of times that we've been together that you can then look at and enjoy, set it to music, and that we can all watch together and think back on our happy times. That might be, that's way beyond budgets, right? That's just the ways that we express love. There's almost always a financial tie-in. And if we want to break free from those expectations, if we do find them limiting, and that might be exactly how you want to express love, and there might not be any disconnect at all. But there could be some of these things that come from money. If your family was used to, here's another one that I see a lot, that on payday was shopping spree day. Every other Friday, or the first and the 15th or whatever, there was just shopping spree day. We just went, and that was the day that everybody got everything that they wanted, this big, huge dopamine rush of all of these purchases, and then all this scarcity for the next 2 weeks. Oh, we don't have money for groceries. Oh, we don't have money for gas. Oh, you needed some money for a field trip at school. We don't have money for that. But we have, like, all these toys, and we have, clothes and shoes that we didn't need, and we just bought, like, expensive snacks and things like that, but we didn't really plan ahead for meals. That can be a money ritual that follows you in. Like, you literally identify with that day of the week as being a day that you're expecting this big emotional response. You're going to have this experience of going and fueling all this dopamine. We're going to get on this big kick and high of all these purchases. And that can follow you into adulthood and make success very difficult.
The emotional engine of feelings and finance. You argue that every financial decision has an emotional ledger alongside a financial one. How can someone start to identify the emotions that are driving their spending, saving, or investing?
Yeah, identifying them is doing exactly that. Just like you're saying, Daniel. It's to try to come into a state of consciousness. So most of the time, we are acting on autopilot, and we're run by our unconscious desires, which is usually based on emotions, sometimes on our traumas, and our neurological responses will especially keep us from doing something. That they don't usually motivate us to do something, they usually keep us back from doing something. And then our emotions are usually, fear. So, like, fear of missing out, fear of losing identity with family members that we love, fear of some future state of being that we're trying to avoid. And the way that I like to have people start to do this is to put an alarm on your phone, especially at those times when you might be spending money. So, like, right after work on your way home, if you're typically one of those people who picks up dinner on their way home, or on your way to work, you pick up an expensive coffee or something, or on the weekends on Saturday, to set an alarm on your phone, like, if it's in the evening, maybe it's every hour. If it's on a Saturday, maybe it's every couple of hours. To It, like, goes off, and the message that comes across on that alarm is, reflect on your emotional state right now. And so this will work for anything, whether it's if you're in the middle of a financial decision, then that's what you're contemplating. If let's say you're walking around the mall on a Saturday, and your alarm goes off and it says, reflect on your emotional state right now. And you might just want to sit down, close your eyes, try to tune out all of the senses that you've got. If you can, just go to your car even and try to get into a quiet place and think, what am I experiencing right now? Almost like you're up in the top of a balcony, and you're looking down on the stage of a play, and the play is like all of these little beliefs and these little narratives and the stories that are going on in your mind. And they're like walking across the stage, and they might be saying something like, you deserve to not have to cook every night. Like, that might be a statement that's walking across the stage. And you can say to yourself, do I really believe that? Is that really true? If I were to buy food every time I go home, is that really in alignment with my highest priorities and goals? Or can I even buy something like frozen meals that are healthy and nutritious, don't take much time to make when I get home, and are going to cost a lot less, even though it may not be taking your whole Saturday to meal prep. It doesn't have to look like that. Or it could be that we're just going to make simple dinners, like, every week we grill up a whole bunch of ground beef, and we do tacos, and it lasts us for 2 or 3 nights. So, looking at those belief systems as though they're like you're outside of that. That's what we want to try to come to. That's the consciousness. And if you shoot off an alarm, or if you have a notification on your phone that says to do this, that then your brain, after doing it with the alarm, will start to do it without the alarm. It will start to go, wait a minute, we've been thinking about what this means and what's really going on for us emotionally and psychologically. Let's do that now, even, without the alarm going off. So that's a really good place to start, is with one of these, kind of just an emotion tracker through an alarm system or a notification on your phone.
Miss Jennifer, as a certified financial planner and financial wellness, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh my goodness, my short-term and long-term goals. Well, I am just starting this business, this breakthrough financial wellness. So this has all of my short-term and long-term really have to do with that at this point. I'm trying to build it efficiently, trying to make sure that I serve my clients and our customers to the best of my ability, that I get great team members on board. And my goal is to create a company that really nurtures people's financial health, that opens up conversations between family members, romantic partners, even, roommates and coworkers, that we can start to have these conversations that we avoid when it comes to money. Nobody likes talking about money. Even if they're good with money, we don't like talking about how good we are. If we're poor with money, we don't like talking about how we make poor decisions. And yet we're all making financially related decisions, some of them not good, some of them, better than others, but we're all in this experience together and we're just not sharing it. So we're carrying around a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of guilt. And I'd like to get people out of that. It keeps us stuck and not making good decisions when we're in that state of mind. So those are, my goal is really to build this company into something that can support that and can be, give some meaningful service to the public.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Jennifer, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, well, do you want to be like me? I want you to be like you. I want you to be your best you, whatever that is. But in order to be really successful with money, I really think it begins with being healthy around money and understanding your psychological experience, your internal experience, exploring that and trying to act out of a place of consciousness and deliberateness instead of just these automatic responses that we usually go through life making our decisions in.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Jennifer. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced your journey?
So I'm going to actually recommend one that's probably not what people would think. There are lots of good ones out there. There's The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. There's Nudge by Richard Thaler. There's Facilitating Financial Health by Rick Kahler. Those are all great. But in terms of a fiction book that I think has some great themes and understanding, it's not even really fiction. It's autobiographical. It's Maya Angelou's how I know why the caged bird sings. And I think it really helps us understand. She does such a great job being conscious. Like, she can look back at her experience as a Black child in the South, growing up in the South, and watching all of those dynamics and be able to reflect on what was actually happening inside of her mind when she was going through her experiences. There's a lot of financially related subjects in there. Like, she has her mom who ran a store and she had a lot of credibility in the community, but there are all of these circumstances where you see that her class is always going to be below even the lowest income, the lowest person on the totem pole, that is white, is going to have a leg up on her, even though she's very accomplished, she's very trustworthy. White people come to her for help and for suggestions, but then they do not afford her the status that should come with her financial position, and that it would come with her financial position if she had white skin. So that is just it really is interesting how Maya can get into what she was thinking, how she interpreted the experiences that she did. And it's a good exercise for us to go, when I was experiencing things in life, could I go back and see what was going on for me psychologically? It's a really great book, and I think it's a must read for everyone.
Thank you for that recommended books, Miss Jennifer. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry on second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. And my baby podcast Low 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101 and science 101 and sex 101 in second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Jennifer, in your work, what is the single most powerful shift in perspective you've seen someone to make a big leap?
When the most powerful shift that I have seen is when, so let me just set some context. The most difficult financial situation that encounter is when a woman has a child or multiple children with a man, and this is the only situation I've ever seen it, is where the woman is having a child and the man is not just not contributing financially, but he's also expecting her to take care of him. And so she has to take care of herself, the child, and the boyfriend, husband, fiance, whoever he is. That situation is the one that I have found is most difficult for, especially if the child is preschool age. So they have to figure out daycare. The husband doesn't want to take care of, or the boyfriend or father, whoever, doesn't want to take care of the child. That is the most financially disruptive situation that I have encountered. That's most of the time there is no solution other than just, try to stay out of debt as much as possible until the child hits school age and you can eliminate that daycare expense. So the most profound changes that I have seen is when women have broken free from that. I consider it like just bondage. I mean, these relationships have just pulled them down, kept them stagnant and stuck. And when they have come to an epiphany that they don't want to deal with that anymore and they get out of those relationships, that's transformation right there.
Miss Jennifer Edwards, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, I'd love to have people head to our website, Breakthrough Financial Wellness. You'll see resources and all of our service products and offerings. We'd love to help you get healthy with money.
Healthy with money. I like that, Miss Jennifer. I hope I will be healthy in terms of money through all the years. So, Miss Jennifer, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel, for having me. It's been great.
Bodycom people, see you soon.